afternoon, Springfield. Welcome. You're in tune to The Voice. You're looking at The Voice. I'm one of your hosts, Anderew Keaton. To my left, Zephrin, Mongroo. And we about to get it in today. We definitely about to get in today. Today's topic is we're going to touch a little bit about leadership, what we need to do in the community of Springfield, and some of the things that we can do to enhance the community of Springfield. Some of you probably looking at us and saying it's about to be on. These experts are about to give it to us and all that. And some people looking at us and they might turn it off. But you know what? We want you to listen because some of the stuff that we're going to say is factual. Some of the stuff is research. We don't come on here shucking and jiving. We're going to really get it in. So welcome, Zeph, before we get into it. How you doing?
All right.
How you doing?
How are you? I'm good. Nice to be back here with you again.
Okay. Listen, time permitted, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Right. And as you know, this probably can be a 2-3 hour show, but we're going to get right into it. I want to start off with the recent event that just happened in Hartford, Connecticut. It was this past Saturday. There was a peace rally, and Reverend Al Sharpton came into town, and it turned for the worse. After the peace rally, they got back to a church. I don't want to name the church's name because I don't have all the information, and I'm not sure on it, and I'm not sure on the minister's name. But it ended up with them asking for $100 to poor people in the middle of a walk. And I thought that was kind of ingenuous. I thought it was insensitive. And he got an earful for it.
Wow.
After that. Well, I want to say this before you take the mic. Oftentimes we look at leadership to guide us in the right direction. And it just seems like leadership just don't took a wrong time. If it ain't about money, it ain't about leadership.
That's right. Well, you know, that's been the plight of our community. And part of it is our fault, the people. Because before we decide to make somebody a leader, we should have already checked out their application, if you understand what I'm saying. So a brother like Malcolm, let's use Malcolm for example.
Right.
I would follow him to my death. A brother like Khalid, I would follow him to my death.
Right.
A brother like Marcus Garvey.
What makes them different, though?
Because they practiced what they preached. And according to the Bible, a tree is known by its fruit that it produced. These brothers, their whole thing wasn't about getting money from the people and then wasn't producing. So let me give you an example like Marcus Garvey. He started many businesses. Okay? He had a shipping line.
Yes.
He had a manufacturing plant. I mean, tons of businesses. And who did he go to get the financing? He went to the people.
Right.
But when he got the money, he did what he said he was going to do.
Right.
So he said
he had a transportation line,
transportation lines. I mean, the brother put the money where his mouth was, if you understand what I'm saying. Right. Malcolm wasn't about money. His thing was about speaking the truth and trying to get our people to do what? To segregate themselves, to separate themselves.
Well, we have leaders today that speak the truth, though. So not all leaders speak falseness. We got some leaders that speak truth, though.
Can you give me the names, please?
I would say like Brother Dr. Umar Johnson.
Okay, okay.
You know, there's a Zephrin Mongroo in the community.
Keaton
you speak
Anderew,
the truth.
Keaton Anderew.
Okay, so there's people that's saying it, man. There's people. I go with my brother, always from another mother, Brother Johnny Muhammad. I mean, they speak the truth in the community.
Right, but
Brother John, from the people at the mother, they speak the truth.
But here's the difference between brothers like myself, yourself, who speak the truth. We don't have the people following us like Malcolm, like Khalid, like Martin Luther King, you understand? So when we talk about leaders or leadership, that means you have to have a following. Now, what we're trying to do is create that following. But we want to do what...
But who defines a leader as having a following, though? I mean, it's...
Because in order to look at the word leader, the root is what? To lead. So to
lead who, though?
Well, it depends. You have the mafia, who is the Don. You got the Don. He's got a bunch of criminals who he's leading. You have brothers like myself and yourself, right? who's looking to lead our people with our words into all truth.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
Right. So we started off talking about leadership, but I want to, we're going to talk about leadership, but I wouldn't put myself in the category as a leader.
Right,
I would put myself in the category more as an educator and somebody that's trying to sprue out, knowledge and stuff like that. You mentioned my name. I mentioned your name because, you're at the Movement Project and you're doing leadership stuff. You're doing stuff like that. Me, so much. I'm more of an educator. I'm more somebody that I don't work on beliefs. I work on facts, actual facts, and that's the difference. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about leadership, when you say to lead to follow, then that's where it gets kind of etchy and stuff. So,
and I understand what you're saying, but even as an educator, the question is, what is an educator? A person who educates, who teaches, who gives information.
Right.
But you're not giving this information just for the heck of it. You're giving information so it can produce fruit.
Right.
So again, you may not be what we call your typical leader. Like I said, a Malcolm X or a Martin Luther King. But however, your voice, how can I say, it's like in the Bible. Christ said, my sheep hear my voice. What he means by that is that the people, the words that he speak are true, he said. And so if you're a man of truth, you're going to hearken unto his words. So I would say the same thing as an educator. If what you're saying is true, like you say, I deal with facts. Well, facts are what you call truth. When you go into a courtroom, they just want to hear the facts, which is the evidence. Right. And that's the only thing that has weight in a courtroom.
It's facts,
right? So if you're an educator, your words, which are the facts, have weight, and they're supposed to guide people, which is the same thing as leading people to somewhere. So what we're hoping is that the words you're speaking, even right here on this show, this dialogue, is going to lead our people to take a course of action so that they can be liberated from this folly that they're involved in, like following guys like who we started off with,
Al Sharpton.
Sharpton.
But listen, I wanna go back to that because personally, I don't agree with it. We can agree to disagree, and I'm supposed to be the good shepherd today. You're supposed to be the bad shepherd on letter. But at that point, I don't agree with praying off poor people and asking people for $100 in the midst of a peace rally, because you got to understand, most of the people that do come out in March are people that's unhappy with justice. It's poor people.
Well, let me say this, man, and again, it's easy for us to look at that TV, my favorite term, that tell-eye to your vision, and they put clowns like this guy, and I'm going to call him what he is because he's a funny guy. It's funny when you look at these guys, so I'm going to call him a clown. When you look at clowns like Al Sharpton, they put him in our face all the time. But if we look... Let's stop there, because we can't say they put him in our face, because you hit on something key. You said it's our fault. Okay. Now, most of those people at the rally were people of color. Okay. If Zephrin Mongroo holded a rally, it would be 10 people there, or Anderew, Keaton would be 10 people. Right. He had almost 200 people there. Well, that's the point. But I'm saying they didn't put him there. Our people brought him there. Okay, but that's my point. So even those people...
Because when you say they, I know who you're talking about when you say they. Okay. It's not always they. It's us, too.
I got you. Right. But even when you look at those of our people, right, me and you wouldn't even touch that guy with a 10-foot pole. Right. You know that.
I agree with you.
So those people of our people who would bring a guy like him to our community.
You would have Al come to the Movement Project?
Are you kidding me? He couldn't even utter those words. If he said that, I would sue him. That would be blasphemy, man. Right. But what I'm saying is the people who pay to bring Al here, they're no different in the they, who the they I'm talking about is. They're all in the same game. That's to dupe our people, all right? And they just use Al as the big name on the ticket, you understand, to get the masses to come out and to rape them for all their funds.
Let's just to rape them for all their funds, but what about sometimes they could be using him just to get the message out? You don't think the message is
message?
Well, it was a peace rally. It was a peace rally.
Show me what message of peace. What are we talking about? Show me what Al Sharpton has ever said that brought peace to our community. Tell me.
Well, listen, you can't say, regardless of what you disagree with his methods,
Okay.
you can't say they're not out marching for peace.
Understand what
Now,
I'm
whatever
saying,
the
brother.
monetary stuff come with it, we don't have nothing to do with that.
Listen to the question again.
Right.
Show me one thing that Al Sharpton has ever done or said to bring peace to our community. Let me tell you what my definition of peace means. To keep that Caucasian at bay, meaning to keep him off our back, to keep him from killing our brothers. Show me one thing Al Sharpton has ever done in his life that brought some type of peace to our community.
Well, see, you keep throwing the Caucasian in there. Who
does he work for?
What we talking about Al, though. Al got the Action Network.
Brother,
he got the.
Who funds it?
I don't know who funds it. Can you tell me?
The Caucasian.
Okay,
the Caucasian. Listen,
yeah.
Al, we all know who Al worked for. Come on, let's not.
I'm saying, well, that's what the show is. Yeah.
That's who Al worked for. Okay,
right.
That's his main employer. Now he might work for some of the other, brothers in our community. Like I said, we'll use his name. All right, just like any other promoter who would use a big name ticket like Jay-Z or Beyonce to make some money. Well, that's all he is. In the circles of what we call leadership, they will use a guy like Al, a guy like Jesse Jackson. These are big name items.
But they got people. They saying no justice, no peace.
Okay,
is it just words?
Of course, they're just words. Anybody can say no justice, no peace. Now the question is, how do you get justice and how do you get peace?
Right.
The United States get justice by doing what? When Bin Laden, so they claim, dropped a bomb on the Twin Towers there, right? How did they get justice? They killed over 1 million Iraqis. And the funny thing is, he wasn't even an Iraqi. He was from Saudi Arabia.
Well, that's my point. Then they figured, put the point on him, but they said Afghanistan, he was Saudi Arabian. You're right.
But that's my point. My point is, though, when they wanted peace, what did they do? Did they go marching?
No, they went bombing. They went bombing.
Okay, so if we talking about no justice, no peace, and all we doing walk around with a bunch of signs, what are we gonna get with a bunch of signs except laughed at like we've been getting for the last 100 years? Talked about. Like I said last time we were on the show, the only thing marching does is shows our oppressor how well he has us in check. That's it, brother. You understand what I'm saying?
I can't disagree with you on that, but I also want to say that. So what happened? What did we do in the civil? Were we led falsely in the civil rights movement because the civil rights movement was built on protesting. It was built on marching. Now, if you look at the bus boycott in Alabama, right? That worked in Birmingham, Alabama. That worked. So it wasn't all for nothing. It wasn't all for nothing because
it was. Let me say this. It wasn't all for nothing on the part of our oppressor, meaning he made out like a bandit with civil rights. I call it civil wrongs. That's my term for that. Because what it did, what by us doing that was very wrong. Because we didn't see the economic impact it was going to have on our community. Let's go back to Rosa.
All right, now you gotta backtrack because you just lost some people when you saying it was civil wrong. What was civil wrong there? Are you talking about the integration part of it, or the
whole thing? The whole thing, and that's what I was about to go into when I said I said the economic impact that it had on our community. That's why I call it civil wrong. Okay, it was the wrong thing to do because economically it destroyed black economics. Now let me explain that. Rosa Parks, what a lot of people don't understand, is she boycotted the bus, right? So-called black folks can have the right to sit on the front of the bus. Dr. Claude Anderson, who's a historian and a brother who worked on the staff of Jimmy Carter. He's
economics. His biggest thing is economics.
That's right. So his family owned one of the largest transportation companies in the South at that time. They had about 500 buses. All right. Now, from Rosa Parks' action, his company went out of business. Why? Because people now wanted to ride on the bus with white folks and sit in the front. You had many black transportation companies back in the South during that time. Every last one of them went out of business due to Rosa Parks' action. Now,
Well,
was that
no,
a
no, no,
victory?
no. Wait, let's hold on to that, Zeph,
Okay.
because you saying due to her actions.
Yes, yes.
So basically, what you're saying, because she wanted to ride on the white bus, we all wanted to ride on the white bus.
Yes.
Why did we stop using those black lines then?
Because
That we can't blame. We
again,
can't.
again. Remember, we've been so brainwashed to believe that anything white is right. So if the white man says my bus is better than yours, even though it's raggedy, and a lot of people who are watching, I can imagine the comments I'm going to get on this one, but it's cool. I welcome them. But that's been our mentality. A lot of people believe because it's white, it's right. So they don't care if the bus is raggedy. They're going to ride on the front of that bus just to say, look, I ride on white people's bus, and now I can sit in the front. That's just our mindset, man.
Okay, hold right there. We're gonna get right into it.
Okay.
We're here live on Voice,
Yeah.
and we'll be back in a couple of minutes to discuss more of the leadership. I'm your host, Anderew Keaton. This is Zephrin Mongroo, and we'll be back with The Voice.
What if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
So, can you tell me what kind of experience you might have that qualifies you for this position?
Yes, I can.
Welcome back to Voice. This is Anderew Keaton, and this is Zephrin Mongroo, and we were in the midst of discussion, and we wanted you to pick up your point about the integration piece and how white folks, or I would say our folks, enjoy riding in the front of the bus, or the privilege to ride in the front of the bus.
Yeah.
Go ahead and pick that
Okay.
piece back up.
All right. So what I was saying earlier about Rosa Parks, what she did, okay, it destroyed the transportation system in the South. Now let's bring it forward to this
In Birmingham or in the South?
in the South, period. Because
Okay.
what happened, remember, it was throughout the South, they wouldn't allow black folks to ride on the front of the
Yeah.
bus. So that just opened up the door for because they didn't just boycott Birmingham, they boycotted the whole
Right.
South.
They brought it the South.
Okay, so now let's bring it forward a little bit. Let's look at civil wrongs. So now we what a lot of people don't know is that March on Washington, okay, was not Martin Luther King's march. Excuse me.
Right.
That was not his march. That march was being put together by Malcolm X and a few other leaders.
Right.
Okay,
And it was to take over Washington.
they were going to shut down Washington, period. They was going to shut down Capitol Hill, and they was going to shut down the economic system in America. They messed up like we usually do. They told the enemy what they were going to do.
Yeah. Well, not only that, it's because I know. I mean, I got a historical piece on that.
Right.
Is when they found out what was going to happen, they got the first call was to Martin Luther King
Yeah.
to get involved with it.
Right.
At that time, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, as you want to say, they weren't enemies, but they were on two sides of
Right,
the faction.
right.
And Malcolm X, when he seen the dummying down of the march,
Right.
backed out on the
He
march.
backed out, exactly.
And he also was getting a lot of heat
Right.
from the Nation of Islam about
Right.
being involved in the march too.
That's
So
right.
he chose to back down because
Right.
Malcolm X, even his famous speech about a revolution, in order to have, you have to tear down the politics and tear down the government.
Yeah.
That's what that whole speech was before they were going to the March on
Right,
Washington.
right.
So go ahead.
Right, and so these are the facts that a lot of people are not aware of. They just think that Martin woke up one day and he decided to put a march together. No, it wasn't his at all. Kennedy was looking for somebody he can use to put out that fire.
Right. And it wasn't just him. Just to clear it up too,
Yeah.
it was called the Big Six. Ralph Abernathy.
Right.
It was a
Right.
few
That
other
whole
people
crew,
involved. It was
that
called the
whole
Big
crew.
Six. Yeah.
That whole crew, what's his name, Baird, Rustin, and the whole bunch of them. So what he did was Kennedy found people that he can use to put out the fire. And like you said, it was that Big Six. Now, once they did that, he said, okay, let's give them a bone. What was that bone? We're going to create some quotas, right? So in every corporation, we make sure we give them what? Out of 500 white people, we want to make sure they have 50 or 5% of the workforce, or whatever the percentage is, you understand what I'm saying, of so-called Negroes. Now, all of a sudden, Negroes are getting one or two jobs. What happened? You see the community start doing what? Dwindling down. Now they start giving them loans, the right to live where? Amongst the Caucasians. Now you see our community people doing what? Jumping ship. So that's why I call it economic wrongs, because as long as they kept us outside of their workforce and outside of their neighborhoods, our neighborhoods were thriving. But at what point did the Caucasian decide we got to listen to these Negroes? When the true leaders, Malcolm and that crew, started talking about messing with that Caucasian's dollar bill. That's when he said, oh, wait a minute, we have to do something. And what I'm saying is, today, we have to employ those same tactics. We got to stop with this marching, stop this foolishness, inviting, the enemy into sit down with us. I mean, that's stupid. Why? If I'm the slave master and I only make my money because of my slaves, why am I going to give my slaves a piece of the pie?
But who invites the enemy in?
Our people who are ignorant, who lack knowledge.
But you got to go after that. Give me an example of inviting the slave master.
Well, let me give you an example. Like right here in Springfield, we always have these talks, dinner and dialogue, or at Rebecca Johnson. We was there where they had the police commissioner.
Well, first of all, kudos goes out to Daryl Moss, because nobody else is putting on stuff like dinner and dialogue. So dinner and dialogue is one of the most prominent shows and prominent talks in the community, because you can't name something else that goes on like dinner and dialogue.
Let me
right?
Kudos goes out to D. Moss. That's my man.
Right.
That's my boy. I'm not.
And Rob Jones too, because they put on dinner.
I'm not taking that away from the brothers what they're doing. All right. But however, when I take a course of action to so-called liberate my people, it need to be effective, and the enemy can't be sitting in the room so that he can hear my plans. That is, listen, people don't understand.
Right.
We're at war, brother. There's a silent war going on, and it's against our people. And what has happened is the enemy has stepped up his game a whole lot, because he know by putting a gun in your face, you automatically know he's coming to kill you. So now you're prepared. But if he take and give you a pork chop to eat knowing it's going to kill you, and you think that's just food, now he's got you.
Right.
Now if he take a few token Caucasians who so-called do one or two things for black people, and now he say, hey, you can work with that guy. Oh, man. Now here come that Caucasian telling you exactly what to do, and by nature, like Marcus Garvey said, you do not invite the enemy into your den. Why? Because by nature, black folks automatically look up to the Caucasian for leadership. And so, yes, I understand. Nobody's doing that. But how effective is it? How effective has it been? It hasn't produced fruit yet. For example, we went to, what's that church up there? St. John Church. Everybody's having these talks. We went to St. John Church. They had all these brothers on the panel, and, again, I'm not here to destroy my brothers. But however, I'm saying what we're doing is not working. And we need to take it back to how the...
Well, how do you make it work then?
Here's how you make it work. First and foremost, we need to leave the enemy alone. That's what we need to do. We need to get away from that enemy and stop thinking he's our friend. We need to sit down at the table with each other. You understand what I'm saying? Because we know what our problems are. Why are we inviting the enemy in to help us solve our problems? You understand what I'm saying, brother?
Right.
So that's what we need to start. First, we need to start with us. And then, if we feel we need to go outside of that, then we need to dictate who we're going to let in and for what purpose.
Now, what does the community need? When you're saying leadership, the community need, if you look at you tackling jobs, the leaders need to provide jobs, or they need to. What do we need to do?
Well, first and foremost, what the community needs is love. That's the first thing. Love for each other. There has to start there, because I don't care if you gave the community $10 billion. It won't do you any good unless you love your brother. So you have to love your brother enough to want to sit down like we're doing right now, like we're going to do every Monday, and put information out to the community. You have to love your people and yourself enough to be able to sit down at the table together without this bickering and without this finger pointing. That's where it starts. And then we can discuss the plan. Because without being unified first as a people, then nothing else is going to make sense.
Then what is the plan? Or are we letting the enemy know what the plan is right now?
Well, that's the point. If it's very simple, but that's something that we need to talk about behind closed doors, because as we speak, me and you both know that the enemy is watching this.
Yeah, okay, but in a
understand?
short nutshell, the plan should be economic growth. It should be jobs. But at the same token, when we say that, we still go to the white man to create the jobs and all that. We're not creating. See, when we were back, one thing about the civil rights struggle and the civil rights movement, this country was an industrial country. So there were a lot of factory jobs. So when we would march, we would go back and we would have factory jobs. You even hear you had Holyoke was known as the paper city. You had Michelin and Chicopee. You had all these corporations.
And all these
So our
factory jobs.
So our parents actually raised us on these jobs, and these jobs were decent paying jobs. Now, because of Reaganomics and the outsourcing of the jobs, there's no more here. So where do the jobs come from, and how is that leadership's jobs to provide? Because when President Obama first got into office, he said he was focusing on jobs. What jobs has he focused on?
Okay, let me tell you where I would start. If I was put in that position to lead my people, the first place I would start was not with the economic piece. I would start with the health issues of our community, brother. Because I don't care how much money you got, if you're not fit like a fiddle enough to go out in the field and pick the cotton, you're not going to be able to make any money. So economics at that point is dead.
So health first with you.
Health first with me, and then the economic piece. And when I say the economic piece, I wouldn't start with just opening a few stores. I would start looking at how we're going to own the land. That's what we got to understand. That power is not in purchasing products. Because if I own the resources, you can have all the money in the world. If I refuse to sell to you, what good is your buying power? So this foolishness about black folks got purchasing power, that's not power. And Dr. Claude Anderson says that better than anybody else. So for our audience
purchasing power is power, but the problem is we're not using it correctly.
It's not
We're
power,
not using
brother.
it because we're not buying our stuff, our purchase.
It's not power. When we use the word power, like the word God, when people use that, that means power. So when we say power, that means you have no opposite. That means it's absolute. So purchasing power is not absolute power. We want absolute power, which is what the Caucasian got. He owns the air. He owns the sea. He owns the land. He owns the water. You name it.
You don't own the air yet because we ain't paying for air.
If you fly over his airspace, he will shoot you down. He's taking control of everything because we've given him control of everything. You understand what I'm saying? So until we take back control of the planet, really, we're going to have a problem. You understand? Because all the resources come from the planet. So that's where we got to start. We got to start by owning a farm before we can even talk health, because what is good health? Good health is eating healthy. Now, what we're going to go to Stop and Shop and buy what? A conventional apple full up of drugs? That's no good. And they charge you $5 for one organic apple with no drugs. The average person can't afford that. That's why we're going to Stop and Shop. The price right. So what I'm saying is we have to own the natural resources, which that's what they're over in Africa doing right now.
Stealing the resources.
Stealing all the resources. They're in the Caribbean shooting down natives because these water companies have went over into South America, bought all the rights to the natural springs over there, and they're actually shooting down the indigenous people of the land for drinking from the water that God owns. So we have bigger problems than just opening a store or education or the school system. That's nothing. We rather have to get back on being sovereign and owning the land. Look at your secrets, he tells you.
Disagree, but let's talk about that on Voice.
That we can do. So tune in every Monday at 8:30 right here on Focus Springfield Community TV.
On Comcast, Channel 12. Once again, Springfield, welcome back. We're here at The Voice, and Andrew Keaton sitting right next to Zephrin, Mongroo, and when we left off on that segment, we were talking about belief in the Bible, because what you had mentioned about health, and I agree with you on health too. I don't think it's just one particular thing. I think it's a bunch of things. But when you talk about health, I think you are right. Even myself, you got to get healthy, because that's the start of it. You can't do the work that we want to do if we're not healthy.
That's right.
But you also talked about the belief system, and we don't know who we are. But the problem I have with that, and once again, this is another show that's probably gonna pick up the next segment, is about we haven't really got to the core factions of where we come from and who we are.
That's right.
Because if you look at the whole concepts of the Bible and where it came from, once again, you gotta examine that, because everything is based on belief.
Okay.
When we look at African spirituality, we're basing it on facts now.
Okay.
Now, when I say that, I'm talking about there's a very interesting character when you look at beliefs, and his name is Eusebius. And every person that's into the Bible should know who Eusebius is. And if you don't know who Eusebius is, you're doing yourself a non-favor, because you know who Constantine is. Yeah. Constantine, and you're looking at the Conference of Nicaea in 14, I think it was 425 AD. When you look at Eusebius, Eusebius was basically a Karl Rove, if you want to say, to Constantine. Basically a troublemaker, and he was appointed by Constantine to create and basically put together the whole concepts of the Bible. When you look at it, that's where the European presence came in at that time of the Bible. They took 88 priests and got them together. Now, because the Bible is made up of what? 66 stories, 66 accounts over a 2,500 year, 2,000 year span of time. If you really look at it, if you look at it, the belief. So I'm gonna let you pick up from there when we talk about it. All
right. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a little bit of time left, so I can't really address that in full detail. So, however, again, we'll do that on another show. But to pick up where we left off earlier, the Bible, as I was saying, is not a religious book. It has nothing to do with religion.
But people put religion on the book.
Because what has happened is that our oppressor, once again, has gotten hold of our records and have used it against us. Okay? And so he's given us something we call religion. Okay? And in that religion, what he's done is taken it and took our records and said, hey, according to these records, I am your God. Look, see that white guy right there? The long stringy hair that you call Jesus Christ, who is really a fellow by the name Caesar Borgia, son of Pope Alexander VI, that they use as the model for that picture that they call Jesus Christ today. So he's taken that and he by the whip, okay, he whipped us into believing that foolishness that they call Christianity. And so today now our people are confused about that book. And so they got all these different stories. Yeah, white man wrote it. Yeah, it was such and such. Yeah, the council, all this thing, without actually taking the time out, for one, to do the homework, to do the research. Some people say I've done that, but they've done a partial research.
Right.
And
now we're not saying, we're not saying as a Pan-Africanist, you're not saying that those stories are not true. We're saying the stories have been distorted. And the way that is given to you now is not the way that it happened.
Right. So let's look at how it's given to you now. For example, like I said earlier, in the Bible is the answer to our problems. The liberation of our people is in the book. Because as I said earlier, it is our history book. According to the book, the people that God says his chosen people, the children of Israel, I'm saying that's who we are. So when we go into the book and we challenge the information in the book, for example, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, talked about us going into captivity by way of slave ships. Now, anything we read...
Now, see, I'm going to stop you there because another thing, too, if you look at Pope 4 and you look at the whole concept of slavery, that's something that needs to be researched. Now, I want to say this to say that. If the oppressor is going to give you religion, as they say, a man ain't going, if he's not going to teach you right, he's not going to treat you right.
Okay.
Now I'm going to say this too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this and I'm going to let you pick up on this point.
Okay.
Martin Luther King once said that the biggest segregated day in the history is 11 o'clock on Sunday, when you have black folks worshiping a white Jesus and you have white folks worshiping a white Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say this last point, and then I'm going to let you run with it, Zeph. In the Ten Commandments, if the Ten Commandments were so sacred, and we know as those to be sacred, in the Ten Commandments it says, thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not steal.
Okay.
If it was so sacred to the oppressor, they wouldn't have did either one of those.
Okay. So, again, remember, the oppressor whipped us into thinking the way he wants us to think. It's just like going to school right now when you go to public school. He took the information, put it together, and told you how to view it. You understand what I'm saying? So let me give you an example. We walk into a courtroom, and the judge says to you, Mr. Keaton, the charge has been brought up against you is running a stop sign. How do you plead? Most people, well, they either say I'm guilty or I'm not guilty. Then he'll ask you, well, do you understand the charges? Most people think they understand or they know what he means by that word understand. When you step into the courtroom, you're speaking what's called legalese. It's a whole different language. So when he asks you, do you understand, what he's asking you is, do you accept the charges? Now, if you think I'm lying, go into a courtroom next time you have anybody who's listening, and argue and challenge the judge. No, I do not understand. Don't say I don't understand. Say I do not accept the charges, and see what type of argument you get out the judge. Go look it up, Black's Law Dictionary. Go look up these words, what I'm saying. So now when we go to the Bible, we have the same situation. We have biblical language. So the Bible was translated from the Hebrew and the Greek. So now when we look at the word thou shalt not kill, in the 10 Commandments, but yet when you go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 8, it says there is a time to kill. Now, let me say this. That sounds like a contradiction. But when we look at the words and how they...
But this is in the books, though. But
let me finish this. Let me finish this point.
I got to put this in, Zep. I got to cut you. I got to cut you, and I want you to finish.
Okay.
I don't mean to cut you. Look, I don't mean to cut you off. But in the Book of the Dead, there's something called the Laws of Ma'at. Do you know what the Laws of Ma'at is?
Yes.
There's something that predates the 10 Commandments almost 6,500 years ago.
Okay.
In that book, it says, I have not killed.
Okay.
So basically what I'm saying to you is you saying thou shall. Somebody was teaching somebody laws. When you say I have, that means somebody already knew the law. But go ahead. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay, so let's deal with that very quickly. So we talking language here now. That's what I'm saying. So when we dealing with language and we step into a courtroom and we go into the Bible and say thou shalt not kill. Remember, the English language is not even a language. It's a compilation of languages. So we have to be real careful when we try to interpret something based on the English language. So what do we need to do? Go back to the original source, which is the Hebrew. So it would say thou shalt not murder, not kill in Exodus, the 20th chapter, where you give the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not murder. However, when you go in Ecclesiastes, it does say there is a time to kill, because if I commit a capital crime, you have to kill me. You have to put me to death. So there is
in African ancient spirituality, there wasn't no crime. There was no crime, and there was none of that stuff going on.
No,
I just wanted to say that.
No, brother. Again, that's for our next argument. But what I'm saying to you is, let's look at words. So somebody has taken the book and has given us their interpretation and their meaning of the book. That's like the Caucasians. They've done the same thing to Egypt. They're the ones who translated the Medu Neter. Show me one African that you know that translated the Medu Neter that will give you the information in the Book of the Dead today and say it was an African. It wasn't them. The so-called Caucasian, the only reason why you have all that information in Kemet intact today is because of the Caucasian. Why? Because he wants to take control of every great civilization and every great people. For example, the Hebrews or the Israelites. You see a bunch of Caucasians running around calling themselves Jews. If you go and look at your census, anybody who comes from North Africa is considered white. It's on the census. Why is that? Because the Caucasian was once there. And that is the most intact ancient civilization right now.
It wasn't that the Caucasians was there, the Greeks invaded it. So let's
he was
clarify
there
that.
Under Alexander. He controlled Kemet for a couple hundred years. So he was there. That's why when you look today, even today, the so-called Arab who's in Egypt, those are nothing but Caucasians, the Turks. That's all they are. You can't even find an original so-called Egyptian today. You can't find one because they've been removed from the land. And that's why the Caucasian is trying to make himself of that stock. And he's trying to make himself of the stock of Israel. Same thing. Why? Because we're the greatest people on the planet. And he has no history. So like as usual, he's robbed everybody else's history. So if we're going to talk Kemet or we're going to talk the laws of Ma'at, the question is, where did you get that information from? The same Caucasian.
Hi, I'm TC Eckstein, and I want you to tune in to TC Eckstein's 413 Community Cafe. We have Janine Fondon of UnityFirst.com. We have so many community events going on and upcoming, and we're going to be covering them all just for you. Robert Rell's Urban Art Exhibit. We have Robert Rell's Urban Art Exhibit at the Dunbar Community Center. Go Red from the American Heart Association. We have the luncheon. So we hope you tune in, and we hope to see you, and we're looking forward to more of the 413 community being brought to you. Stay tuned. On Focus, Springfield's Community Television. on Channel 12. See you there.
Ariana. It's okay.
Supposed to be. Now I'm going to ask you.
Different things. You were showing me some earlier I had never seen.
Self-taught like you.
Yep.
Break, come right back with for you guys and with a general question.
I was
A $50 drink. Everybody gonna dance.
I'm walking out with a stick.
So there's a few things that's on my mind that I just wanna talk about them with the audience. One of the things is the dinner and dialogue. And again, no disrespect to my brothers who are putting these forums together. I love my brothers. The problem that I'm having with these discussions, I don't see the fruit that it is producing. Every single one of these discussions that I have attended or that I have watched on video to this point does not speak to the real issues or does not give any real solutions. So let's take a look at the last dinner and dialogue downtown here at the UMass Center. I didn't get it. We had a bunch of panelists speaking about economics, this, that. We got a couple brothers with good words and fair speeches. Everybody sounds real fancy. Outside of that, I mean, I don't know what they were talking about. The only person that said anything that was clear and concise to me that I can say, okay, I hear you, well, would have been Brother Johnny. Where they were using words like them, these people. What does that mean? So I take it when they were talking about the rulers that be or the powers that be, meaning the people running the city or the people running the country or the people running the world, which we would, which would be Caucasian folks. They need to be specific. Stop biting your tongue, man. I mean, let's get real. But the problem is when we invite everybody and their mama inside of our forums that don't belong there, that is not part of our community, now we have to be mindful of the things that we say. So when I looked at the last show, I look around the room, we have police officers, we have this one, that one, everybody that shouldn't be there. So when we talk about them, we can say who the them is. So now, to my brothers who are listening to this, to me speaking on this issue, please hear what I'm saying. I'm not trying to disrespect you or, like I said, any of the things you're doing. I understand nobody else is bringing anything to the table. I got that. But if we're going to bring something to the table, it needs to produce fruit. And that's where we are. We've been in this position for so long. We keep trying to be politically correct with our questions, politically correct with our answers, politically correct with our dialogue. We got to stop that. We got to call a spade, a diamond, a diamond. We have to call a club a club. We got to call evil, evil, and we need to call good, good if it is really good. And we know right now, the things that's taking place in our community is not good. And we know the people who are perpetrating these crimes against our community is not good. And so if we're going to have dialogues and we're going to have food to go with it. Let the food be good, for one, which it normally is, but then let the dialogue be just as good as the food, if not better. So when we leave, not only do we have a full belly, but our mind also have been filled with information that is true and concise. What do I mean? Like who the real enemy is, what the real problem is, and solutions to our problems, real solutions. One, separate ourselves from this enemy. We keep inviting them into our forums, and I'm going to keep saying it. Leave these people out of our business. Let them mind their own business and let us mind our own. And so with that being said, again, I want to ask our brothers and sisters, to come together, because that's what it's all about. It's all about uniting together as a people, not as a bunch of angry, the normal stereotype that places, hey, these angry black, not as that, but as a people, meaning a people with a true intention to love each other, to get our communities back intact, 'cause right now we don't have a community. We don't have a black community. We have a community that's made up of everybody but the so-called black man. Everybody has taken over our community. So we need to do what? Develop communities again. And in order to have a community, you need to have a government. You need to have an economic, you need to have economics taking place. To have a community, you need to have a people. You need to have a market. We don't have a market. Black folks do not have a market. So when we have these talks and we sit down at the table and we're talking about, who we talking about? Who we here? Who we trying to save? Because when we got every other race of people sitting in the midst of us, then how are we trying to save our people? The only people can save our people is our people. So what I'm saying is, brothers, these dialogues, let's have them. But let's have them with real people. And I'm not saying the brothers on the panel is not real. What I mean by real people, let's have dialogues with the people that represent our communities. For example, me. That's why I take the time out to do this. I love my brothers and sisters. That is the reason why I'm here, begging with you guys, man. Please, let's put away all the nonsense, get rid of the religion, get rid of all that madness. Let's come back together as a people. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, I'm begging you, let's not have any more of these fruitless conversations. Let's bring conversations to the table that's going to produce results. Let's bring conversations to the table where when we leave, we know exactly what the problem is, and we know exactly how we're going to go about tackling that problem, what the solution is going to be to that problem. With that, I want to say thank you.
Not all Caucasians gave us history and gave us information. It is factual. See, I've witnessed, at some point, it has to be an eyewitness account. I've been in those, I've been there. I've seen it for myself. I've seen it where no people of Caucasian descent were nowhere around. I've seen it with no biblical facts and none of this stuff. I've seen where the stuff was taken from. I've seen it. Okay. What we need to do as people, and that's what the European is good. They're good at us getting up here arguing about some book.
That's right. That's right.
What we need to do, and I'm challenging you, me and you need to get groups together. And Anthony Broder does it. Yeah. Tajwa Kwesi does it. What we need to do is we need to take people there to see it for themselves. Because I've seen it. And when you see it, brother, I'm telling you right now, you're going to have a change of mind. You ain't going to change what you believe. All it's going to do is going to make you a stronger person. It's going to make you more into the stuff because you've seen it. And I'm talking about, we ain't went with people that don't know what they're talking about. I've seen it, and I've seen it for myself. And I was on your part too, because I have people that are Israelites, some strong people in the family. And when I seen it, not only was I blown away, I was mad because I'm saying to myself, this is something else they keep for us. Because when you dig, then all you find out is how powerful you are, and all it's gonna make you more powerful. Because then you're gonna say, I'm sitting up here, I got this book. This book ain't got nothing. When it all boils, this book ain't got nothing to do with me. This book right here. Because the craziest thing that I seen when you talk about health, and I thought about you on this piece too, Brother Zeph, is there's a whole piece in the Land of the Kings that talks about vegetarian and fruits and vegetables and how we were supposed to live. Because at that time, we lived to almost 150, 160 years of age.
We lived longer than that.
Yeah.
We lived longer than that. And again, the information you're saying for Kemet is right for Kemet. I'm not taking away any of the greatness of Kemet. However, what my contention is that we are not those people. What I'm saying is
we come from those people, though.
We do not. What I'm saying is we came from the land, but we are not those people. A so-called black man born in America is not a Caucasian. He's not an American. He doesn't descend from the Caucasian Americo Vespucci. He has ancestors who's responsible for his existence. And what I'm saying is the land does not dictate who your ancestors are. So all I'm saying is that when we go to the book, the Bible, it has the answer to our problems. Again, you touched upon, let's just look at the laws. You say the laws of Ma'at. I ain't taken away from that. It says, I have not done something. And that's cool. But the Bible tells you, thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not do this. There's nothing wrong with those laws. And if we incorporated those laws, then we wouldn't have half the problem, all the problems we're having today. Because when you understand the book itself, again, remember, and I don't blame most people who deny the Bible. Why? Because Christianity has done a most wonderful job at destroying the minds of our people when it comes to that book. That our people could care less about picking up the book and just giving ear, just hearing, just opening up their mind just for a second to see what it really says and get rid of that image of that white Jesus. Just get rid of it just for a second and just put in the mind the image of a black Jesus and then go back and read the book. It'll look very different. But again, I don't blame our people, brother, because that's what's causing half of our problem. And we said in the book, it does say that we need to come together. Well, we can't come together if the book is a book of Christians. Then what is the problem? There's so many churches. There's 5 per corner. I've been down blocks where I see 2 churches, one right next to another. And I'm sitting here saying the liberation of our people is in that book. Then what's the problem? The problem is a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge, a lack of teachers, the real teachers to teach us what's in that book. Most of the people who are teaching that book, they're paid by the system, brother. And it's all about money. And the best example is who we started off with earlier in the show, Al Sharpton. Yeah, what was his name? Reverend Al Sharpton. And look what he's doing. He's using that title to do what? Dupe our people out of money. That's the problem with most of these institutions. They have turned into businesses, and so therefore they're not going to tell you the truth of what's in that book. What they're going to tell us is what we want to hear.
All right. Well, we're gonna stop there. We're gonna pick this. We're gonna pick this up on because I am, like I said, I am at night, and we can talk about this, but we can pick it up. So once again, thanks, Mr. Zephrin, Mongroo, Anderew, Keaton, host, and we are on Voice. And listen, it was a great show. And once again, thanks Nate Patterson for letting us sit in and producing the show. And we'll be back with more topics coming up in the city of Springfield. So thank you. We got a little storm brewing in back of us, and just like the conversation and the topic, and we'll be back next week.
We'll be back next week.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right.